caught on camera.
Let's bring in someone new to the conversation to join us here. We have Meg Strickler. She's a criminal defense attorney joining us from Orlando. She obviously has been following this trial. Okay, Meg, first of all, give me a grade, A through F, if you can, as to how Jose Baez specifically has been doing so far, because we have difference of opinions up here with these two defense attorneys.
Well, to be honest, the grade for so far for the closing arguments only, I give him maybe a C+, okay? Because he is doing what lawyers do in closing. He gave the thank you so much for being here and all that. But to be honest with you, Ashton, I was able to follow Ashton completely, unequivocally. He did a little story for me. With Baez, within like 2 minutes, I was already tuning out, and I do this for a living. So the jury, I think, wasn't listening as well, and Baez was having to use the visual pictures and whatnot. I don't think that helped him. And normally, pictures are very, very useful in closing. I use it all the time when I do closing. It helps the jury remind, oh, that's who this person is. Oh, that's who that person is, especially in a death penalty trial like this. So I give him a C+. He didn't fail, but understand what he's working with also.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm right there with you with the you lost me there, pal mentality. And I'll tell people that here we are sitting in the studio, but of course, when we get a chance to stand up and move around a little bit while we're plugged in with our IFBs and listening to everything and watching the plethora of monitors here that have this on the thing, I said to Randy, I came around and I said, okay, he's losing me. I'm not following what he's doing, and I absolutely agree that Jeff Ashton really methodically went day to day to day to day. So how much, Meg, do you think that the jurors are looking at this like, oh, come on, get to the point, because it's so important. They've been sitting there so long. They want to get back to their families. You got 4th of July looming. I mean, there's any number of things into play here that they just want this to be done and done properly.
And again, I give Ashton a lot of credit. He did his closing a lot shorter than originally. About a week and a half ago, he told the judge he was going to need 8 hours. And Judge Perry said to them, are you sure you're going to keep that jury awake that long? So I'm kind of excited that Judge made them stick to 4 hours, and then Ashton went even smaller. So, you know, yes, they're ready to go. They're chomping at the bit. They know, they see that finish line so close, the jury. So they're listening, but they're also thinking, oh gosh, I get to see my family again. I get to go home. I get to sleep in my own bed. So they are tuning out a little bit more. So I think it's even more important to succinctly connect the dots, forget some of the semantics of thank you so much for being here. And also, Baez just doesn't have as good theatrical voice. As a defense attorney, closing arguments are my favorite time to do. It is. So it's just different semantics. But I think, again, forget the facts of the case. Ashton wins, hands down, with respect to his methodology of doing his closing argument.
Yeah. Let's bring in NBC's Lydia Luciano, who's been covering the trial for us, and she's down there as well. Let's go down to Orlando again to Meg Strickler. She's down there, and she's come outside of the courtroom and is kind enough to join us. You heard what Kerry was saying there with regard to the unconstitutionality of the death penalty there in the state of Florida. How much is that something that might play into an appeal if this case has to go there, if a day or two from now Casey Anthony is convicted of murder one?
Well, first off, I don't think the jury is going to come back for first degree or death penalty, but assuming they do, absolutely, there is a lot of appealable issues here. It wouldn't matter how the trial went. There's always going to be appealable issues because none of us are perfect. So no matter what, there's ineffective assistance on every single trial tried. So when everyone's saying Jose Baez is going to get ineffective, that's normal. It wouldn't matter if he was Superman. So there's one. Then you got the death penalty issue. And there's a lot of evidentiary issues we can bring in appellate-wise. So there's a lot of things we can appeal. Do I think ultimately, even if the jury came back as a death penalty, she won't get it. It will be overturned. The judge can overturn it. It won't happen. The state of Florida hasn't done that very much to women. The last one was the Black Widow, which, by the way, Judge Perry was the one who was the prosecutor for the last woman on death penalty here. And he watched her get the death penalty. He watched her receive the actual death. He went down. So I think the prosecution here in this case has done an excellent job. But I want to point out something that Kerry said about the death qualified jury.
Yep.
Very much cynic. I'm a cynic defense attorney. When you have a death qualified jury, you don't need a study. They are biased because of the fact that they're willing to give the death penalty, in my opinion, by definition means they're more prosecutorially oriented.
But Meg,
so
is that
the deck is already stacked against us?
But Meg, is that something that you can come back on appeal and say, oh, we shouldn't have had this jury? I mean, can that?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I want to say as a Senate concept,
right.
The death qualified jury, by definition, is biased, okay? There's a lot of little idiosyncratic issues here that will go on appeal. I can't even imagine the lawyer that's going to have to do this appeal. All the trial transcripts they're going to have to go through, the fine-tooth comb, there's going to be a gazillion appellate issues. I kid you not. I've done appeals. I don't like them because it's too difficult for me. It's too many pieces of little things you've got to find. I much prefer to be a trial lawyer, to each his own. But to go back to your question, yes, they're going to go about the ruling that just happened about the death penalty. Absolutely.
Okay.
But I'm just saying I don't think the jury will come back with the first-degree murder. It hasn't been proven here.
Well,
I
will say, Meg Strickler, that in addition to my thanks to you for coming outside and talking with us, you're in agreement with, I believe, both of our attorneys here, Randy Zell and Jonas Bilber. They're both nodding, and they agree with that assessment. So thank you so much for your time. And to all of you, it is now about 1/4 of the hour here on MSNBC Sunday. We're going to take a short break, and on the